Yeah, so I titled it, How Did We Use STEM Tools to Upskill Our Staff? And I'll just get started with first who we are. We are an international school based in Stockholm in Sweden. These are some of just the fun facts. We have students from almost 60 nationalities and staff from 40 nationalities. So it's a truly international school in its essence. And the focus is very academic because we're in the middle of the city. So we have very limited sports and other facilities, but we do focus a lot on the academics. So we run international baccalaureate program. And these are some of the fun facts that we do. Our students really score pretty high compared to European and the world average. So yeah, so our journey started being one-on-one device school in 2012, where we connected everyone and gave everyone, brand new devices. Every staff member have their own MacBook Air. So the idea was that we don't have space to have huge computer centers which we used to have before, but then people had to book the time. So the idea was that everyone should be connected from wherever they are in any part of the building. So that shouldn't be an issue. We were a bit behind from Stockholm standards, but we caught up quite fast. So this is how our pedagogical team looks like. We have an infrastructure part where I haven't put it over here, but in the pedagogical part, we have 2 technology integrators, we have 2 library media specialists, and together we take care of this entire department. So as I mentioned, so we started in 2011, upgrading ourselves, and then the phase 2, we launched the training program for the staff. And that time it was a very basic things that how to use different digital tools. And we started establishing routines for support and both from the infrastructure side and the pedagogical side. And we launched this thing called Tech Bar. So this was a hub. It was slightly inspired by, in Apple stores, you have this Genius Bar. So we took a bit of that concept and turned into a kind of co-working space where it will be staffed whole day. So people would come in with any problems they had. So they didn't know how to convert this thing into PDF or how to edit this particular audio file to making a video and all. So it ended up becoming both the tech support, I broke my screen, to the pedagogical support. So that was a very good way to include the entire community, and it is open for parents as well. And that's when, I think around 2016, we were looking at different frameworks to really measure what are the impact of all the technology integration that we do. So the first thing we did was the Terp Survey, and these were some of the results which reaffirmed our belief that what we were doing was right, but we did need some structure because it was very difficult to measure what was getting out of that. At one hand, we had given all these fancy devices to everyone. So a part of group was just reading PDF on these things, and some group of teachers were making cool animation videos. And so there was a huge gap. And then we thought that how shall we devise a training program that suits everyone? And another challenge was that we have a very mobile community. So our student body, they stay between 2.5 and 3 years, and then they move on because most of them are from diplomatic families, or they are from internationally mobile business communities. So they don't, so we have a lot of change in our student population, and same applies to teachers as well. A majority of our teachers are sort of globetrotters. They come to Stockholm, they experience that for 3 to 5 years, and they move on to the next location. And so this TUPS was really critical. It gave us a whole overview that what we were doing right and what was missing. And then we decided that in the majority of them, they didn't know what tools to use. So on one hand, they would get really overwhelmed if we gave them an array of fun digital tools. Then they wouldn't know which one to choose. So we decided that no, we need to really have a basic set of skills that everyone should have in order to function in this technology-rich environment. Because we had these super learners and they were just flying, and then we had a part which was sort of falling behind. So it was becoming, for some people, instead of enabling them, it was becoming a liability. Oh my God, now I have to learn this thing again. Oh, I was doing fine with just my whiteboard and marker. And in many cases, they were right. So then we came up with this idea that we should have like a IT driver's license. We should decide what are the key competencies which are needed. So we thought that, yeah, we need them to know how to use the devices. We need them to learn the platform that you use for teaching. So the platform we are still using is the G Suite. And then they need to know how to operate our LMS. So ManageBac is the LMS that we use, which is aligned with the International Baccalaureate program. And fourth, it's important that they should know what online safety is, because by law, we are obliged for not only our own online safety, but we are responsible for all those 20, 25 students that are in the classroom. And there, the gap was also quite big. So, for example, you can't just show a Netflix movie from a private account in the classroom. So we thought that there's so many things. How shall we keep track of everything? When shall we find time? And then we decided that we should just take that course on digital citizenship for the staff from the Common Sense Media program. That's quite popular. You might know it from States. And then last but not the least, we already had used TUPS, and we have been trying it out with some teachers. Then we thought that there should be a basic minimum requirement that every teacher needs to have reflected on the use of technology using the TIM or using the TIM reflection tools, My Reflection. So these were the 5 elements that we made as a baseline. For example, you go and buy a car, you need to have a driver's license. You need to know basic safety, road safety. You need to know the basic functioning of your car. You don't need to be an automobile engineer, but you do need to know when the oil is missing or when the pressure in the tire is low. So this was the idea. So these were the 5. You need to be efficient in devices. You need to know the basics of Google tools. You need to know basics of ManageBac and digital citizenship, and the basic uses of technology integration matrix. So these were the ones that really made it very clear for our staff that what is expected. And that enabled us to sort of run specific training programs for each department, for each group, because in mathematics, they might need to know, the GeoGebra. In art, they might need to know Adobe, so that a science teacher doesn't need to know. So it really enhanced their day-to-day technology integration. So 5 years ago, it would be that, hey, I made a video. It was, my kids made like a TED Talk style video. So that would be, for them, in their mind, an infusion level, collaborative on that grid. But nowadays, this is, they treat it as an entry level thing. So what was infusion 5 years ago is becoming entry or adaptation now. And so this, coming back to, let me, yeah, so once we decided that these are the basic tools, these are the key elements that everyone needs to have so that we can focus on actually using these tools for the right learning outcomes, then it became, things started sort of falling in place. And this is just the first phase. Our next one is that what if every teacher is a Google teacher and Apple teacher? So what we did, let me open that file again, is since we have a mobile population, we didn't want to do our own thing. So we asked them, hey, how do we test that they know their device as well? Then we say, since we use MacBook, you should go for an Apple teacher badge or a certificate. And that you can carry on wherever you go to your next school. It will be, it's something that doesn't die away. Same thing we did for the G Suite. We asked everyone to do the Google Certified Educator Level 1. So that helps them, that takes away lots of pain points because we use lots of Google tools. And these two were international certification. For managed back, there was none. So we created our own. We created our own quiz and checklist because it's different for primary, it's different for high school. And so this was something very similar to what I teach courses are in Canvas, but we did a very lighter version of that. We did like a self-evaluation checklist. So if you could do all those things, how to put grades in, how to add a student to your class, how to create a unit plan. And then they were linked to the tutorials. And there was a certificate assessment for digital citizenship for teachers. So that was also something that they could take with them to whichever school they went to. So we didn't want them to get tied to our own training program, and we didn't want to recreate the wheel. And we just picked up the things which were out there. And so the first two things were you do it once and then you get done. But technology integration matrix is something that's an ongoing part of this whole SIS IT driver's license. So this is how we are trying to standardize their skills and also find where using the TIM tools where the intervention is needed and where we need to support them more. So this was in a short, and I'm happy to take your questions. I know 15 minutes go by so fast.
Hi, Anurag. I'm just curious about how the teachers respond to doing the TIM-R. And you said you do them, is it twice a year?
TIPS we do twice a year. The TIM-R, sorry, TIM-R we also do twice a year. That we have made mandatory, but we ask them to do for each unit they teach, because doing it for each lesson, it can get too much, because they might have 5 different grade levels and 20 classes a week. So this is something we ask them to do once a month, where they meet as a department. So there it's easier for them if they're focusing on a unit. Hey, this, for example, in maths, we're teaching algebra, and then you have teachers who are teaching that from grade 6 to 10. So they can discuss certain things and decide what to do. Because less than that, we wouldn't have any actionable data or insight, because it would be good for them to see, hey, yeah, I was at infusion and goal directed level, so I'm doing pretty good. But as a school, as a department, we know that already, knowing them, because we are a close community. So yeah, so 2 is mandatory, but more is merrier.
That's awesome. I love the concept of the driver's license and kind of, sort of segmenting it out. It's like it gives you a way to get everybody on the same page. So that you at least know, like, okay, there are lots of different things that you can do. Here's your basic, get you on the road. Really.
And that saved us a lot of time, because it took us 2 years to really get that, for the community to adopt it, because they say, hey, I already know that. Why do I need to do a certification? I said, then when you already know that, why not have it? And we paid for, because it just cost like $10 for Google Educator. So we paid for that for the whole stuff. And most of those certifications are free, because it's in one way, it's a marketing tool for those companies. But the way we segmented it, we decided, okay, 5 years from now, if we decided to go for Microsoft devices or some other company, so it shouldn't be dependent. We'll just take, or we'll make our own certification, or we'll take what is available in the market. Same with the learning platform. If we change that, then we will use, if we go for Power School or Veracross, or all those popular LMS, then we'll just do their training program. But we will always need devices. We'll always need a LMS or a base teaching platform, and we will always need digital citizenship. They would need to know what GDPR is, what kind of things you can do in the class. You can't take a photo of a class with your own private mobile and post it on Instagram, hashtag I'm a cool teacher. I mean, those things are illegal. We have to pay fines, even though 10 years ago we were encouraging them to do that. So the things are getting more complex the way we move forward. And so we are finding ourselves that we are spending less time in teaching them like how to make a video, and more time on what are the things you could do with that, and what are the things you shouldn't be doing that. in a classroom setting. So in that case, it's always ever-changing and exciting space to work on.
It's also like your Genius Bar concept, like borrowing that from the Apple Store. I was thinking about, like, we've done in our College of Education, we've done something very similar. Years ago, I mean, it started as, we called it the Laptop Lounge, because very many years ago, the college had a laptop initiative, and we set up a lounge space to support students and faculty who were participating in the laptop initiative. And we continued that concept beyond the laptop initiative, and eventually renamed it and rebranded it as the iTeach Lounge. The iTeach Lounge is sort of an informal space where students and teachers can come to work on technology-related projects, but also where they can get support, ask any questions. And so they'll come in with, even though there's already an IT help desk at the university, they'll come in and say, I can't remember my password, or I don't know how to use program or whatever, but they'll also come in with more pedagogically grounded questions, and they can come in with whatever kinds of questions and be redirected. So that kind of a informal space is really important.
And it's funny you said that, because we always had this joke within because we all were tech guys. And even though the integrators and library media specialists, they would just come to us, hey, the printer is not working. I'm sorry, I don't know. But hey, you can do that. So it's at the same time, those spaces allow for discovery of certain things, because you see how they're interacting with the software devices. Many times you find out that they have been doing it all wrong for the last 10 years. And all of a sudden they have this aha moment. Oh, yeah, this is how you do that. Okay, I didn't know, I was going this long way around. And so now we are trying to do a similar thing for our students as well. So sort of what are the things we are expecting a sixth grader when they show up in a classroom with a device? And so, yeah, they should be able to type properly using all their 10 fingers, and, they should be able to use certain programs. Of course, each teacher is responsible for their own subject-specific software. And we as a department, we try to support all of them, and we bring in external help if we need. Like I gave an example of Photoshop. I'm not so good at that. So then I'll just ask in someone to come from outside. Or if you're doing a special after school coding session, then we'll ask some of the engineering guys to come in and do that. But we are trying to rebrand it as a learning commons. So we don't want to have the difference between, oh, this is your library, this is your IT. So we are trying to merge them together, and they so that's to have the makerspace and books and IT resources all in one place, where teachers and students and parents can come and learn from that.
There's a lot of sense to that, about, like, it's not like at the library you would ever have a help desk for hardback books and help desk for paperback books. Like a kind of support for learning, whatever technologies are involved in that learning. It makes a lot of sense.
And in that case, I think states were quite, lots of schools, lots of districts in US were quite ahead with turning the library media people into sort of resource people, not just checking in and checking out books, because that kids can do that themselves. So we made that as a self-service desk. So they just know, they scan their code, and then we have an assistant that comes and puts the things in where it should be. And our library people have become digital citizenship teacher, because they talk about, referencing, academic integrity, because now that starts quite early. This is how you should reference. You can't just borrow someone's work. This is how you do it. So it's a lot of merging points between the instructional coaches, or we call them the technology integrators here, or library media people. So it's an ongoing process. I think it's not that you find like this one right recipe and then it might work for 2 years, but then you have to change that again.
Yeah, I think that's a big takeaway too, is that it takes attention to these things on an ongoing basis, and leadership, which you provide. Like it's really wonderful to see that within your organization. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. Very helpful.
Thank you.
Since we have you here, do you mind if I ask you another question?
Please feel, go ahead. I was just thinking that you can, you could stop the recording or you can continue. So I don't mind. You can
I know
on.
we emailed back and forth about this around the TIMC and how you see that might be implemented into your system.
Just briefly, I don't want to cut the discussion short at all. I have a meeting I have to attend.
Okay.
So I'm going to
please go ahead.
But
no worries.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so about TIMC, we have had lots of discussion on that based on our courses. So I introduced it to my department and they find it really exciting. So we have already started doing that for our personal goals within our department.
Great.
And then we're thinking that how can we use that for each and every initiative that we do. For example, if we do how to create a video lesson in your PE class for remote learning, then so that will be a process. So can we do that using the TIMC tool where we check in and their progress, where they upload what they have done. That cycle could just be maybe 3 weeks long cycle, or it could be a month long cycle. So these are some of the things that we are debating on, and also how to use TIMC to measure some of the things that can't be measured in that IT driver's license, or those who are sort of a sub part of that. For example, our managed back platform. So it has lots of details in there. So for example, our grade 10 students, they do something called personal project. So it's like equivalent to industry research projects. They do that over a period of 8 months parallel to their studies, where they create something, they follow all the the design thinking cycles, and that's a part of their graduation into, or entry into the high school. And for that we have training for all the staff who are their supervisors. So each staff is supervising one student. So it could be someone is creating their own book, a cookbook, or it could be someone creating a small business or making a musical instrument. So everything is based on their creativity and interest. So something like that we could use TIMC for, that how to train teachers to be efficient supervisors. So, and in the long run, the idea is maybe in the next 1.5 years that we should use that as a standard platform for all our main PDSC needs, like professional development, because that every staff is required. And right now, as I told you, we were doing it all in Google Drive. Each one has their own Google Doc, and everything is loaded in there. So it's just one big running doc. And this TIMC would provide a much more efficient system. So that's the next step. But they already introduced that last year, so we don't want to make too many changes just within.
Yes.
So we are going to ease that into their repertoire, because they already used to TUPS and TIM-R and TIM-O, and then we'll just slide in TIMC with like small focus groups. So that's
excellent. Well, as you're going through that process, please be in contact with us and let us know if there are things that you wish you had in there, or things that we might be able to tweak to make it work better for what you need. Always,
of course.
So.
I mean, you have made like such a great tool, all of you. So it's at this time, I'm just looking forward to use all the things which are already there, and then I'm sure we'll come up with some feedback, and I'll keep you in the loop for that.
Great. Thank you so much. Thanks so much for sharing.
Thank you. So nice to talk to this core crew. Like, you guys are behind this amazing thing that you're doing. And I was joking with James once that you should open a European office. And when you decide to do that, I'll help you out.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you so much, fellas. And, feel free to reach out, and I'm just an email away.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.